forgotten that you protected me from the dragon's flames.
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
Of course, that begs the question. If he's a mere mummer, then where might our true Arisen?
Empress Nadinia's life is in your hands, Sir Arisen.
Praise be, for only the Sovereign's guidance can lead us true. Long live the Sovereign of Vermont!
If there was anything Capcom could do, anything at all to reignite the hopes of ever seeing a sequel to Dragon's Dogma, it'd be revealing a showcase of some sort, in light of fans' ever-growing interest in the IP. However, its creators continue to play hooky any time it crops up in conversation. It makes sense, in ways, what with Resident Evil being the studio's meatiest cash cow, and when all's said and done, we'd be lying if we said there was little to no meat left on those bones. To put you in the picture, Dragon's Dogma 2 is the long-awaited sequel to 2012's action RPG hack and slash game Dragon's Dogma. Announced during its 10th anniversary back in 2022, director Hideaki Itsuno, art director Daigo Aiko, and level designer Kenichi Suzuki all confirmed their involvement in the sequel. Sadly, this was right around the time the trail went cold, which in turn led to several months of prolonged silence. And now, well, not a whole lot has budged since. Unfortunately, with Resident Evil 9 standing as Capcom's primary interest, it's fair to say that most assets are likely being poured into that. And while the sequel has been confirmed, chances are it's still dipping in and out of its pre-production phase. Going by that, it's hard to imagine Dragon's Dogma 2 releasing anytime soon. 2025, if we're lucky. If memory serves us well, the final chapters of 2012's Dragon's Dogma saw us ascending to godhood as the new Seneschal, a move that just so happened to wind up breaking the cycle and having the dragon in Dragon's Dogma completely wiped from the slate. As for what happened after this cycle ended remains unclear, which leads us to believe that the sequel will cast a light over these burning questions in one way or another. But who's to say it won't draw an eye on a completely different time period altogether? As there are indeed a few questions and ruffled feathers to keep in check, it's likely that Dragon's Dogma 2 will shift its attention over to the Seneschal, or more importantly, the aftermath of the broken cycle. What happens when there is no Seneschal? Will there be another higher power to turn to? It's far too early to say, and yet, for what it's worth, we'll be sitting on tenterhooks for all the while Capcom chooses to quietly shuffle the deck and pick its final cards. Capcom first made the announcement back in 2022 during the 10-year anniversary of Dragon's Dogma. At the time of its reveal, director Hideaki Itsuno, who worked on both the original and Devil May Cry 5, made it clear that the sequel would be built from the ground up using the re-engine. And while the team didn't quite mention a release date, they did go on to say that the project was in its pre-production phase. As for what the current situation with Dragon's Dogma 2 is still very much anybody's guess, but with rumors of a new Resident Evil game knocking about, chances are all focus will be poured over to that before the next leg of the Dragon's Dogma sequel. And so, if we're to go by that, then it's likely we'll hear a little more about it over the next year or two. If all goes according to plan, then we could see the sequel pop up at some stage either in 2025 or 2026. But don't quote us on that though. So, is there any footage to support this rather empty carcass of a project? Fortunately, yes, though it does come as part of a much longer and admittedly more prequel-focused showcase. That said, it's still something, and it certainly sheds light on a few of the core gameplay features and all-round aesthetic. As it stands, there is no release window for Dragon's Dogma 2. It's believed that, for when it does come out, it'll be available on Xbox Series X, S, PlayStation 5, and PC. It's hard to say whether or not it'll on X-gen consoles, though given the time frames, it seems highly unlikely at this point. As far as editions go, again, it's far too early to tell. That said, with the original game launching with a variety of pre-order bonuses, it's safe to say that the upcoming sequel will, too. As for what they'll be is still anybody's guess, though.
Forgotten that you protected me from the dragon's flames.
You need only believe in your own destiny, Arisen.
Of course, that begs the question. If he's a mere mummer, then where might our true Arisen?
Empress Nadinia's life is in your hands, Sir Arisen.
Praise be, For only the Sovereign's guidance can lead us true. Long live the Sovereign of Vermont!
That is most unfortunate, but it doth not release thee from thy fate.